I think they forgot. Hold on.
I don't fear nobody, dog. I don't care if you 7-7 or whatever. I'm coming straight at you.
Morant against McConnell. Pick and roll. Morant. Oh, my word. Morant. Oh, a jawbreaker. Morant blows by Primo. Attack. Oh! Morant with a running start. Elevate. Oh, it does. Against Pearl. Leaves it. Give it right back. Morant. Oh!
At 22 years old, Ja Morant was the rising star of the NBA, a top 10 MVP finish, his first All-Star appearance, second team All-NBA, in a league increasingly dominated by international players and that was starving for the next great American-born player to take over. Ja looked like that guy. An incredible blend of speed, athleticism, explosiveness. If you had asked any NBA fan at that time who the best guard in the league was going to be 5 years from now, most of them would have said Ja Morant. And these weren't empty stats either. The Grizzlies were winning. Back-to-back 50-win seasons, tons of smart moves and great draft picks. Memphis was set up for the future with a superstar in Ja, an excellent young core, a passionate fan base, and one of the smartest front offices in the league.
Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant has been suspended for a second time.
Memphis Grizz star Ja Morant goes to court today.
You do realize that he's an NBA player, a very good NBA player, and you're putting him in harm's way?
But now, where is Ja Morant? A 25-game suspension last year, played just 9 games before getting hurt, in a completely lost season for Memphis. And a team that was once thought to be this up-and-coming contender suddenly had all of their momentum completely stopped in its tracks, and now enters this season with a ton of uncertainty. To be fair, Ja isn't the only reason that the Grizzlies lost their way last season. Basically, the entire rotation was out with an injury by season's end, and it isn't right to just put everything on him. But the real question is, has the NBA left Ja Morant in the Grizzlies behind? Wait, what? It was just some off-the-court stuff and a fluke injury. Ja will be back. The Grizzlies will be back, right? Well, first up, we gotta talk about the off-the-court stuff. I know that a lot of people don't think that what Ja did was a big deal and that the suspension was too long, but this is the key point about the entire Ja suspension situation. When he got suspended the 25 games, that was already his second chance with the NBA. The first time that this incident came up, he had a meeting with the NBA commissioner and told him that he just made a one-time mistake. It wouldn't happen again. He'd get it figured out. And then he did it again, which is why the suspension was so long. And second, of course, is the injuries. If you look at just last year, yes, it's easy to explain away Ja playing just 9 games, the 25-game suspension, a fluke injury after getting thrown into the season in the middle of the year. But if you look closer at his career, injury issues have kind of been a problem the entire time. His extremely entertaining style also comes with a ton of injury risk. He has a little bit of that Derrick Rose in his game where he just kind of throws himself at the rim, tries to dunk on everyone, and just plays at this crazy fast pace that, yes, is super fun to watch, but has led to injury issues. Even if you take out last year, Ja has never played 70 games in a season and missed over 20 games in each of the 2 seasons prior to last year, which is unusual for a player still in their early 20s that seems to be in really good shape. And those injuries and games missed are especially concerning for a player in Ja that relies so much on his speed and his athleticism to be effective. Now, don't get me wrong, Ja is unbelievably skilled, especially around the rim. But if he starts to lose even a half a step this early in his career, it'll have a massive impact on his effectiveness. But the possibility of Ja getting left behind isn't just about him, it's about the team and the Western Conference as a whole. After those 2 great regular seasons, the Grizzlies struggled in the playoffs and as a result, made some big changes in the 2023 offseason, moving on from Dillon Brooks, among others, and making a big trade for Marcus Smart. The goal with the Smart trade was to put more veteran experience on the team in light of the situation with Ja, and add a ton of playoff experience as well. The problem is, we don't know any more about how that team is going to look now than we did when Memphis made the trade a year ago. A historic amount of injuries for the Grizzlies last year means that while the rest of the conference improved, made changes, had a whole season of data to study and fix what they didn't like about their team, Memphis just stayed the same. They do have some interesting young guys that they got to see more of last year, which is good, but given the changes that they made to the roster, there is a ton of uncertainty around where this team fits in a loaded Western Conference. But on the other hand, that is a lot of negativity for a team that prior to last year was considered an up-and-coming Western Conference contender, and in the 2 seasons prior to last year, finished second in the Western Conference in the regular season. They are loaded with young talent in Ja, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and others, and that trio is super interesting and versatile and should only continue to get better. And although we don't know the outcome of the big moves made in the 2023 offseason yet, this is a front office that it seems like you can have a lot of confidence in. They have their misses like every team does, but their ability to find value along the margins, to develop players, and to churn out wins in the regular season can't be discounted. And honestly, all of this negativity for Memphis comes from just one season of the worst possible outcomes happening over and over and over again. The Ja stuff off the court, the suspension, the injuries early in the year, Ja coming back and immediately getting hurt, more injuries. No team in the league could have withstood all of that, and all of it is pretty easily correctable. Although they do have some guys like Ja that seem to be more injury prone than you'd like, there's no way the injury luck will be as bad as it was last year ever again. And it's very likely that Ja figures out the off the court stuff, continues to be awesome, is one of the best guards in the league, and with this supporting cast, the Grizzlies are right back at the top of the West once again. And that's truly what I think is going to happen. A few months into the year, we're all going to have a, oh yeah, the Grizzlies are really good moment as they position themselves for a top 4 seed in the West. But that isn't really what matters to me. Because even when they were at their peak, before the Ja stuff, before the injuries, before the Smart trade, there was one problem that they always had and will continue to have with this roster. They haven't been good enough in the playoffs, and more specifically, their offense just has not been good enough late in games. And if you're going to be a true contender, those are the two things you have to have. They were a super young team when we last saw them on the playoff stage, and they've tried to fix that in part by bringing in Marcus Smart amongst other guys. But the other part, the late game offense, that is a piece of the puzzle that hasn't yet been solved. Maybe Ja takes a leap, or the spacing is a little better. A bunch of stuff could happen to help improve in that area, but honestly, I kind of doubt it. They probably still need to take more of the scoring and creation load off of Ja, and that will require more tweaks to the roster. They probably still need more spacing. The addition of Zach Edey at the 5 is an interesting wrinkle, but might not be the long-term solution at that spot, which they still need to figure out alongside Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 4. But all of these were question marks before, and a lost season hasn't helped them answer them. So to answer the question, has the NBA left Ja Morant and the Grizzlies behind? I don't think so. I think they're exactly who they were before the Smart trade, before the Ja stuff, before the injuries, a really good regular season team. And I don't think they're going to get left behind in that scenario. The problem is, I don't think that they've really improved either. They're exactly what they were before the Smart trade, before the Ja stuff, before the injuries, and what they were before just might not be good enough anymore.